And we're live!
Hi.
Guys, welcome to the final
Game of
episode
Thrones ever.
review ever again.
It's so sad if that's
Yeah.
how it ended.
Yeah.
That'd be a bummer.
I'll think about this. The end that we got, Fade to Black, they didn't make it.
No one
No,
made
man,
it.
they didn't
Not
make
a
it.
damn. Well, actually, they all made it as whites. They were all about
They're
that.
all,
Maybe it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Now they're all on the same
Yeah.
team, and they lived happily ever after.
See, that's the thing.
Yeah.
We're all unified.
Listen, incest doesn't matter
Yeah.
if you're dead.
There you go. Jesus Christ.
I mean, the subtitle of this show should be "Incest is Best."
Yeah. Incest is wincest.
There
is
we
what
go.
Raina taught us.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Trademark.
Or anime. Yeah,
Or
correct.
anime stuff. Guys, welcome. Thank you for joining us for our final episode review for Game of Thrones. Thank you to everyone who contributed to our Patreon for the show. But for the final episode, we wanted to celebrate
Yeah. Well, so
the
this is going.
finale.
This is going straight to YouTube.
Mhm.
From straight to this moment to YouTube. So
Oh
real
my
quick.
God.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So Sam,
Yes.
where can they find you?
They can find me at Sam Bashor.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Trisha.
You can find me at that girl Trish with no I in the girl, and that's on most places. And if that girl Trish with no I in the girl doesn't work, it's Trisha Hershberger.
Speaking of
There you
most
go.
places, it actually should be up here in the cards already.
Say what?
Right over there.
Nice.
And then you can find me at DJ Talks Trash, every place that matters. And you can find out more about our podcast, which we just put up a new episode today.
Talking about Death
Note.
Note.
Oh boy.
OnlyStupidAnswers.com
Yay!
Check it
is
out.
where all that is.
I love it.
Yeah.
Now, at the top of most of these episodes, I've been doing my recap thoughts on the episode based on the limited knowledge, but I've watched everything now.
Yeah!
I've watched it all, and it's at first like I was, now there's like a really big chunk of people that are like proud to not watch Game of Thrones, and I realized I was kind of getting into that group of people. But now, when like everyone showed up in this new episode, I was actually excited, and I'm like, damn it. They got me. I'm like, damn it. I care, and it sucks that I care so much. Like when Brienne and Jamie were talking, whatever, we'll get to that anyway. But usually at the top, I would like talk about my thoughts. But since there's nothing to talk about because I know everything now, not to brag, I'll just talk about what I thought of the season so far.
I won't even say the I'm curious to know what your thoughts are of the show in general. Yeah.
Well, I do want to say season 4 is my favorite. Even though season 5 and 6 are pretty cool, even though season 5 has the worst moment in the entire show. The worst.
I disagree. I think season 4 has the worst moment.
Yes.
Because not only is it bad, but it's sloppy.
Yeah,
It's like
What's
no
everybody's
sense.
worst moment?
What's your worst moment?
When they burn Stannis' daughter alive. That
Nice.
makes no fucking sense.
I agree.
That makes sense
awful.
to the characters,
That's awful.
but it's a bad decision.
Mhm.
Is that your worst moment too?
I don't know. That one's pretty bad. That one, or when Theon watches Ramsay rape Sansa. That's freaking weird.
And the way they staged that was bad too. But that,
I
that
know
was,
what you're gonna say.
Yeah,
Because there's another moment that
at
makes
least,
no sense.
At least that makes sense with the characters and where they're at. Like Ramsay's a bad person.
Yep.
The one that completely derails an entire arc that they'd set up and also doesn't seem to be what they intended was when Jaime rapes Cersei.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Because
Exact.
not only is rape not something I like to have on my TV, but also it didn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense, and I think the showrunners did come out and say they never intended it to look like a forceful thing,
well, the
but
director
it straight
said,
up did.
Yeah, the director said it wasn't supposed to be that. The actor said it wasn't supposed to be that, but like it definitely is. What's kind of getting up there as close for me in sloppiness, and that like maybe we didn't think this through, is actually the second to last episode this season.
Oh, the Beyond the Wall.
Because it's like
they even came out and admitted it. They're like, the timetable doesn't make a lot of sense about this episode.
It's not just the timetable. We'll get into it more, but you realize like all it did was give the enemies a really good way. It didn't even accomplish what they set out to do.
It didn't win over Cersei.
That is. I love the episode we're going into. I loved it, but then the more I thought about it, the more it made the episode before it seem even more pointless.
He agrees.
It's true. Well, yeah, Logan has a lot of thoughts about it too.
But overall, I am very shocked. I think it was season 3 when Brienne and Jaime were going around together. It's when it clicked of like how much I care because of how much they like when Jaime like negotiate Brienne doesn't get like raped. I was like, this is care. I actually care about this right now.
You care. I'm gonna bring him in.
Oh, yay! We have a special guest. And I think it started to hit me when who was the other brother that Ramsay killed? The other Stark. Rickon.
Yeah.
When Rickon died, I was like, Anna, you know what? Fuck him. I just want to. Oh, I'm sorry, baby here.
He can't understand yet.
Yay! But when they killed Rickon, I was like, nope, just kill everybody. Like I care now. Also, Battle of the Bastards. It was so cool. I just kept watching the scene where like all the horses are like hitting each other and like and John's just standing in the middle taking out guys left and right. I don't know how they did it. I have no idea. When I watch it, I'm like, well, there's a cut there, but that doesn't explain how they just made all of this work together. Yeah. And does that mean they like filmed each part and then like layered it in piece by piece like Legos? I'm like, I don't know. It was breathtaking. It was incredible, and I am a little mad at the show that it took so long to deal with Ramsay because he had so little to do with what else was happening in the show. But he did get he got the best like death he could.
I enjoyed his death.
Yeah, it made sense.
They worked the way they worked later. Ramsay probably wouldn't have shown up. Like, it was definitely like, oh, we can't have like Theon just missing for seasons. And like by season 6, they're like, no, we can have a character just not show up for a season. It's fine. And we probably wouldn't have gotten Ramsay because he really didn't have anything to do but be a torture asshole.
Yeah.
For like a season.
Yeah, I wish that the show had kind of done it more along the way that the book had done it, where you just see someone later and then wonder, is that person from before? But again, as we've discussed on this show before, that's hard to do in a show because you're going to recognize the actor. Yeah. So it'll be pretty obvious that it was the same person. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, in the books, it's like you don't see Theon for a long time. And then you get this new character named Reek. And like 7 Reek chapters later, you're like, oh, that's Theon Greyjoy. Oh, no. Oh, no. Yeah. That means this all torture happened. And oh, man.
Yeah.
I do... there are 2 also Hard Home. I wish I'd watched that before last episode because it was so cool. Yeah. It was terrifying. But
so amazing.
Cool. 2 things that I'm like on, also a little mad at. Like the thing that I'm on was Hodor's death. I was like, this is like, it didn't mean as much to me. It may have been because I watched it so fast, but from my point of view of watching it over 6 weeks, Hodor is so not important to like the story. And like I'm sure if I watched it over time, you could be like, you can kind of like grow like an appreciation for him because he takes care of Bran and like whatnot. But from my point of view, since I'm just plowing through, he is just there. Like he had the same importance of the sister of that one guy that showed up, like the sister that ended up like taking him to Winterfell. I was like, it didn't matter as much to me. It sucked because Bran is responsible for this and like it's his fault.
Not only is Bran responsible for Hodor's death, but Bran's responsible for Hodor's entire life.
Yeah.
Hodor.
Yeah, that just made me like Bran less. It made me, I guess it just didn't make me feel more for Hodor. It just made me dislike Bran more than I already did.
It's also a big moment because it's the first time you realize that Bran can affect the past.
Yeah, that's true.
Like his time travel can actually change things. That's what we realize with Hodor.
He can make it not incest. He can change it.
He's kind of stuck there. But also in that same episode, so we're really dealing with Bran, and I realized that like you said, Bran wasn't in season 5 at all. He just came in season 6.
Yeah, they figured it out. They're like, hey, you know what? Maybe a few characters can not show up.
Maybe it's just totally okay.
And the finale of season 6 was really cool when you figure out about Jon and his parentage, or you get the hints of it. But the episode when Hodor dies, you meet the children of the forest or whatever they are, which you had already met, but they didn't. They guess the showrunners were like, we should maybe give them some makeup,
make them a little more elfy.
Yeah, and you get like their background really quick. That they created White Walkers. I am because it made like just story wise, like they had spent so much time explaining so much and building up so much that when they like were like, no, we created White Walkers. Why? Because man, and you're like, what did they do to you? And you're like, the episode's about to end, so we don't really know what man did to you. You're just threatened by them, so you created basically a walking, talking nuke that like just turns everything else into nukes, and the world's gonna end because you didn't like men and you didn't know what you were doing. But that was never set up or explained or talked about it before that. Again, I watched it quick. I could have missed a mention of it, but since this was like the first visual of the children of men or the children of the forest, and them talking, I had trouble like getting behind them or understanding them. But
I don't know that we're supposed to.
It just was weird that like this is the explanation for White Walkers. Like this is it. But overall, really cool show, and this episode was really awesome. So, and I'm getting now what you're talking about, that the show this season is moving unbelievably fast.
Yes. Well, it was interesting. It's interesting that you point that out because I was really thinking about that. And if you think about it in a certain way, the show's always kind of moved fast in the sense that, like, if you think about that first season, you lose Drogo, you lose Viserys, you lose Baratheon. Like, half the cast is killed in the first season. So, to how you're normally used to watching TV, where, like, this is your cast. This is going to be your cast for the next foreseeable seasons, the show has always moved fast in certain ways.
In certain ways.
So a lot of stuff happens,
yeah.
but a lot of stuff happens in a timeline that makes sense. Like characters will die in travel or encounter other characters in travel. Not we just magically teleport to places to make things happen, because that feels artificial. It didn't. The first season to me, a lot of stuff was happening, but it never felt artificial.
Yeah.
In these last seasons, I feel like I can see the gears turning in the showrunners' minds, which I don't want to see when I watch a show.
By the way, just because I haven't asked anybody's opinion on this, what did you think of the Sparrow whole storyline? The Sparrow, like the High Sparrow and all the religious zealots that were in, like
I think that's
Landing.
Yeah, I think that storyline and Danny's storyline and Marine would have benefited a lot had they been able to do the show with the books done and known where everything wound up, because a lot of that felt like not that they weren't good ideas, but like Arya's time with the Faceless Men and the time with the High Sparrow and all that could have been a season, as opposed to I think all those took like 2, as they were like maybe George R. R. Martin will finish the book by the time we get to this thing, and maybe no, we didn't, and maybe we could have, and that would have given us more time to do the things that they're doing now. And I'm starting to wonder if maybe that's the problem George R. R. Martin is struggling with, because normally like. Usually your big turning point in a story is the middle. So with a story like this, you would do spread out to like the midpoint, and it's like now we bring it together. But it doesn't sound like George R. R. Martin's even gotten close to that, and he's got 2 books left of like, well, now we got to bring it all together. And so I think that's where some of the, if they'd been able to do it with everything done and known how everything ended up, it probably would have been paced a little bit better.
That's valid.
Interesting. Yeah, because Marine, even though I was more interested in Marine than I was the High Sparrow stuff, in Marine stuff was just like, okay, we gotta figure this out. I know that slavery is a big issue, and like this, like, and figuring that out takes a long time. But I'm like, well, how long though is the show going to dedicate to figuring it out? And the High Sparrow stuff, I was like, I know Cersei was like, go ahead, green light, like you have like more power in the city. That even though you just kind of appeared out of nowhere.
Well, because she thought it would benefit her.
Yeah, and then like it turned around, and that was really cool how they played that out. And is there a name for what she did in the finale of last season when she blew up everybody? Did they give it like a name or not really?
Like Battle of the Bastards.
Battle of the Bastards, yeah. Whatever it was, that scene was
she
absolutely
murdered
terrifying.
everyone.
Yeah.
Because I knew it was coming, and I was just like, because it was building to it, and I was watching it with somebody, just that scene. So they like never watched the show. They had sat down, and you can feel the music building, like what's happening. I'm like, you just gotta watch, because I know what's about to happen, and I'm terrified right now. It was amazing. And then Tommen, amazingly shot scene, but it actually really, it did such a good job of just capturing the hopelessness of that, because like you're just hearing like people crying in the streets and the buildings burning, and then he just. And it doesn't even skip a beat to the next scene, and you're just like, Jesus, this is...
Yeah, it's interesting. And we
hurt my heart.
Oh, yeah.
We visit that a little bit, too, and I love the way they built Cersei, her ability to basically shun every mistake she's ever made off to Tyrion.
Yeah, Tommen, I was like...
Totally your fault.
Yeah.
Like, that is 100% on you.
But she says that it's his fault because they
of
wouldn't
time
have been
went
so
around.
screwed in the first place.
Yeah, no, it's totally her. Like, Marcella is not his fault, but I at least see
he sent Marcella away.
I see the pieces that you could put that in place. Again, it's kind of because she escalated that. Also, again, I was thinking about that because this episode brings it back up. So I thought about what's her face, Ilaria Sand, and it's like, she murdered the one guy that won a piece. We'd probably be in a better situation if he was still around. Fuck her. Like, she was a bad person.
Oh,
like,
she's not good.
But she was a bad person.
You feel bad for her at first. But, no, not great.
No, she's a bad person. But I'm excited. It's so weird.
Game of Thrones.
I'm
Everyone's
excited.
a bad person.
I'm excited for the next season.
Except John. He's way too noble.
He's way too noble.
Which they called out in this episode, and I thought was brilliant.
This actually, it made me feel like the spirit of Ned was alive. Especially the scene with him and Theon. I was like, I feel like Ned's here.
I feel like especially the scene between Sansa and Arya.
Oh, by the way, for a while I was like, why is Theon here? Like looking at the group of people, I'm like, did Dany really bring everybody? Like, because you have both armies, both dragons, and Theon. Like, what? And I'm like, oh, because when everyone meets, everyone's got to have an adversary. So Euron's just like, I hate you. I'm like, hey, we're all lined up.
I did like, and it also was a great callback to Tyrion. Like when he goes to him, like, hey, what did we say about dwarf tropes? And he was like, that wasn't even a good one. It was good. I liked it.
Let's kick off this review, though.
Okay.
I'm excited for next season, which is like 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years away, probably.
I hate it so much. When the season before this ended, Nate, my husband, looked at me and goes, "You realize by the time there's a new Game of Thrones episode, we'll be parents?" And we were like, "Oh, God." And that was terrifying. And now we have a dude and we watched a season. Guys, maybe by the time there's another Game of Thrones episode, one of you will be parents.
Oh, no problem. I don't.
Or both of you.
I'll have two.
Guys,
Sam and I
maybe.
have been looking to adopt.
There you go. The only stupid answer is baby.
We need an intern.
That's smart. We'll
But
get
yeah,
on that.
2 years is a long time.
Yes, it is. But hopefully everything looks awesome. And it's only 6 episodes, too.
And apparently
But some of them are going to be 2 hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the word on the street is some of them will be as long as 120 minutes.
And people, and we'll talk about this. We'll talk about this more.
We need it.
Yeah.
6 episodes. 6
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's kick it off. Beginning of the episode, we're getting the meeting, the biggest crossover ever. It felt like, not comparable, but when like you had the big CW crossover with like superheroes last season when everyone showed up in the same room, you're like, but in this, it was 10 times better because
it's like 7 seasons.
Also good actors and a lot of stuff, better storytelling. But when the army showed up, I was like, I love that they were like planning for the Unsullied. They're like, maybe we could. And then as soon as the Dothraki run in, I'm like, oh, this is so cool. Oh, this is so cool what's happening right now. Also, I forgot to mention Braun has mentioned it once in this episode, and then in season 5, he made a joke that audibly made me laugh because usually their jokes aren't very funny.
Braun's pretty funny.
Yeah, there was one where it was like they complimented Braun for like setting up the trenches. He was like, "Oh, like complimenting for that is like complimenting an Unsullied on the size of his penis," and I was like, "That was pretty funny." And I was like, I wrote that down in my cell phone. I was like, "That's pretty good. I'll keep that for later."
Hey, although being cockless sure benefited Theon.
Yeah, it was great. I'm sorry. That redeemed Theon for being in the episode. I was like, this makes sense now why you're here. But as soon as we get in there, like we saw, I think my favorite like meetup of everybody was Brienne and the Hound. I was like, this is so cool.
Because they got to like pat each other on the back, like, "Hey, Arya turned out okay."
Also, Hound admitted that he cared. Like he hadn't admitted that he cared. Also, I remember last season or 2 years ago when they were like building up that Ian McShane was going to show up on the show. One episode that was like, it is not really that important, but whatever. It could have been anybody. That was really sweet though that he and Brienne got to talk about Arya.
Yeah.
Sweet, but also super awkward.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I almost killed you. Sorry.
And then, what do you think of the Hound and the Mountain talking? I think the Mountain's eyes have rotted out of his head.
That's what it looks like. The way that they're doing him now.
He's not. Yeah, he's looking a little bit more gnarly. Mm-hmm.
Greener on the gills.
I wouldn't surprise me if an earlier draft of this script had the Clegane Bowl
that everyone wanted,
and so it got reduced to that moment. It's like, we'll get to it later.
Yeah, he doesn't know that he's basically, I wrote in my notes, I was like, he's basically talking to a vegetable. Like, he's not talking to a person right now.
He kind of knew. Didn't he say something like, you're still in there somewhere?
Yeah, you could tell.
Like that?
They mentioned but the Mountain has never showed that he knows what's happening around him.
I'm still rooting for Brienne and the Hound to team up against the Mountain. Maybe at least partially because I feel like that's, at this point, the only way you could take the Mountain down, because he is superhuman at this point. Like,
I like that they left the little like marks from the weapon. I can't even remember my seasons anymore, but I think it was one of the army like hit him with like a mace or something.
Oh yeah,
and it's still there. I'm like, that's so cool.
But isn't it a different suit of armor?
I couldn't tell, but he still has like the same like dents in it. It could be, but it was really cool.
Remember that time he shoves a guy's head into the wall and like the meat of the head just falls out?
Oh, yes, it does. Or when who is Pedro Pascal's character?
Yeah, no, we don't need to revisit that.
When,
for some reason,
when his teeth fly out.
Yep. That's
when I saw that, I screamed.
I knew it was coming because of the books. So like
his teeth come out in the books.
No, but his head gets crushed in.
No.
Is what you know from the
books. You didn't
books.
need to show that from above.
So yeah, the second that it got to that point in the scene, I was just like la 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 la.
That was intense. It's intense.
What do you think of Dany being late? I mean, Cersei was already late.
Yeah.
When Cersei mentioned like, "Oh, we've been waiting," I'm like, Cersei just sat down. I don't pretend.
She's just being pissy.
Yeah.
But I love that moment though, because it was definitely Cersei. Like she's sitting there like the dragon show up, and Lindsay does such a good job of like, this is insane, but I'm not gonna look impressed. And then it was just so petty, like, we've been waiting.
Lena Headey, in this episode especially, can I just say how great of an actress she is?
Mm-hmm.
Every time she throws a look or says something to someone, especially in this episode, she hates everybody now. She almost like bites her words out, and it is terrifying.
Yeah.
And I love it. Great job, Lena Headey. I love it.
Peter Dinklage was talking about how, like, in the behind the scenes episode, talked about a look she gave him. He's like, oh, I don't need that ever again. And if
you've seen her in other things, she's like lovely.
She's great. She's great.
She plays the mom. She plays, like, she's just so nice.
She's in the Sarah Connor Chronicles?
She plays Sarah Connor.
Sorry. So when you said that, I was thinking Sarah Jane's Chronicles, the Doctor Who third spinoff that was for children. I was like, that doesn't seem right.
Yeah, she's in Sarah Connor Chronicles. She's really good in that. She's also the villain in Dread. She's really good in that. So that's closer to Cersei.
That's closer to
Cersei. That's closer to Cersei. But no, it also makes sense. Like when Dany was in there, I was like, I mean, if you have dragons, you're gonna come on. I mean, come on.
Although, Cersei to point out that was a dumb move. She was like, she brought everything she's got. She brought the Unsullied, she brought the Dothraki, and she only brought 2 dragons, which means one of them is no longer in existence.
She should have just brought one. I mean, you could have brought the Unsullied and the Dothraki, then they would have taken care of themselves. Don't only take one dragon.
No.
Don't only take one. Where you put the other one? It's gonna just sit around.
It's waiting there. It's right. It's hidden behind Cersei.
Also, by the way,
well, and I also like the fact that they met at the Dragon Pit, because that was a power move by Cersei. Like, hey, this is where the Targaryens basically shriveled and died.
Yeah,
didn't quite work out for her as far as a power play, but I like the intent.
I did like the thing.
I did mention that I would like a cat-sized dragon. That would be pretty cool. If it grew up to be that big, I'm like, that's pretty cute.
Yeah,
I mean, it would probably kill a lot of stuff, but I'd be like, come on, that's cute.
Like season 1 size dragon.
Yeah. Hi. Wait,
a Logan-sized dragon.
Yeah. How cute would that be?
He has a dragon outfit. I just didn't put him in it for today.
Well, that was a mistake.
I know. He's in his I poop and I know things onesie, but not.
It's a good one. What did you think of the reveal? I mean, as soon as the White Walker popped out, you're like, man, here's every element of the show in one room. Except for no one from Dorne, but you got everybody else here. Yeah.
That's okay.
I'm okay. We don't ever need to revisit Dorne.
It's beautiful.
It was interesting. And I don't know if I would be quite like, I like the way it worked because it sold the scene. But if I were in the situation, I don't think I would be more surprised by the undead person than the dragon. Maybe because, again, we all know dragons did exist at one point.
Yeah.
And because the mountain there.
But Cersei freaks the fuck out when she sees. I like that too, because there's a moment when he hopped to the town. I'm like, if this thing didn't make it.
I know. I thought for sure. I was like, oh no, it's dead. Shit. Oh no, it's dead. Yeah. Like I also was.
Yeah, I was like,
there were so many moments in last night's episode. I was telling Sam this before we started recording. So many moments in last night's episode that I was just fetal positioned on the couch with like my fist in my mouth, like the whole time. Which is why I say kudos. I thought last night's episode was great because of so many oh shit moments.
I was running a little late, so I had to start with. I usually watch this like the HBO Now, but then we have a live broadcast of it. So I started right when the White Walker popped out. I was like, oh, okay, we're getting into this. Like everybody's here. Like this is really cool. I went back and rewatched it, but Qyburn picked up the arm. And I was like, no, don't give that to him. Don't let him play with that.
I loved that was the choice they made for him because he straight up would be like, oh, this is fascinating.
Yeah, I'm very interested. And then you're on, which I guess turns out to be a bit. He does this like, oh, undead people is where my line is. I'm out, guys.
And that was a fun like little twist that we get to later in the episode. We mentioned this earlier, but John saying that he already bent the knee to Dany. It's like, come on, man. Like I know he's supposed to like not lie.
John. I knew he was going to do that. It wasn't even a question.
Also, not to be that guy. Does that make sense as a demand for Cersei? Is John's army really going to change the tides that
much?
It's
half of a country.
But it's also, we know how small, like every other conversation in Winterfell is how tiny the army is.
Well, but it's not just Winterfell. I mean, if she knows that Baelish has the Vale up there too, you know what I mean? And they're allied to the Starks and everything that's up there that's allied.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, I like that. I liked it more for John saying no from the conversation that happened after. And then Tyrion confronting Cersei, which
that was Great.
Which was an amazing scene that I'm glad, whatever machinations got us to that moment, I'm thankful for.
It was so cool.
Yeah.
It was such a...
Although I was like, could this be where Tyrion dies?
I thought for sure he was going to die.
Yeah.
And I didn't think it was going to be because of the mountain, which she, bluffed
about.
Oh,
when he walks in the room and the mountain closes and the mountain's inside, I'm like, no, don't do that. For
sure. But also when he pours himself a glass of wine, I was like, she knew he was going to go for the wine. She poisoned the wine. Like, I'm like thinking of all these different ways that he could possibly die. And when she did not use the mountain to kill him, that almost made me know that she was bluffing later in the episode with Jaime.
Oh.
Because why would she refrain from killing Tyrion and then pull the kill command on Jaime?
That's the thing. Yeah, and it wouldn't have been good for the show.
Right.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have made any sense.
And she hasn't killed anyone from her own family yet.
You know what?
She indirectly killed Tom and
Lancel, but Lancel was directly responsible for torturing her.
That is true.
Lancel used to be her lover too, so that's got to be
I kind of forgot because he was my least favorite, one of my least favorite people from the first couple seasons, and when he came back, still one of my least favorite, but at least he was more interesting now with the thing in his head.
I thought he was more interesting for little.
Really? And the long hair. That scene was so cool. But you guys mentioned this earlier. I don't think I think Marcella's fair to blame for put Tyrion's blame or put the blame of her death on Tyrion, because he literally the Dorne people were the ones that killed her.
They were the enemy, and he sent
them. But to be fair, they hadn't framed him for murder and then exploded the head of their main dude. Very little of that you can actually. I see how Cersei could. Mm-hmm. Realistically, it's not Tyrion's fault.
Oh, I agree. Realistically, it's not.
The only one that's Tyrion's fault is Tywin because he straight up shot him with a crossbow.
Yeah, agree.
And even then, you don't know. It was Joffrey's bow. It could have just misfired. You don't know.
Yeah,
that's the big twist.
Yeah,
he didn't do it.
Even throwing CSI.
Even when he reloaded it, he didn't do it. But then you were mentioning this because we were talking about it. You think you were upstairs or something, but DJ and I were talking that Cersei is doing her twist at the end, even though it made sense for her character, that it completely threw away beyond the wall. Bringing the White Walker means nothing now.
It completely undermined anything they did. So basically, we went above the wall, risked all our lives, lost Thoros, lost a dragon, which now the Whites have used to get beyond the wall, so that we could get Jaime on our team.
Well,
that was the whole.
Honestly, on this show, when we talk about it, I've been thinking for a long time that Cersei seeing a white wasn't going to affect her at all. So I was wrong in that it did affect her, but she still didn't really. I was not surprised.
But that's the thing is that why we're not surprised. So why would any of the characters on the show think that this would ever work? It makes what was kind of probably the dumbest plot point of the season continue to be it would have been a redeeming moment if Cersei also would have been really fascinating story-wise if we have a season where they have to figure out a way to work with Cersei. But it would have made it look like, you know what? Plotting-wise, storytelling-wise, a little messy, but it worked out because Cersei got on their side. Now it's it really was pointless. So we had all the characters just decide to be dumb. And also, Tyrion looks dumb as hell this season because literally every idea he's had has been bad.
If you watch also the Marine stuff, he looks dumb
It starts there. And that bothered me then. And when I rewatched it, I'm like, you know what? I always thought this was a lesson for Dany to tone it back. But I realized the Marine stuff with where it ends up she kills all the people with dragons. But I think it's more of a lesson in Tyrion that sometimes cleverness doesn't get you out.
Yeah.
But now I'm just thinking, I guess Tyrion's arc now is that he's dumb all of a sudden. Because going from that to this, it's hey, the only good decision he had was when he tried to tell Dany, don't go beyond the wall, don't do it. That was it. That's his one piece of good advice.
I don't know that I feel like it's that harsh on Tyrion. I still feel like Tyrion is diplomatically very clever.
Yeah.
He is
war strategy, no, but diplomatically clever. And he did, at least to some degree, convince Cersei to even public facing say, I'm going to work with you guys. He got her to change her opinion somehow.
Yeah.
Now, if it's as advantageous as we want it to be or not is a different thing.
Well, interesting. And this is jumping ahead a little bit, but I think it pertains to what we're talking about. Kindle V at Kindle Marie. What happened at the end of Tyrion and Cersei's chat? Why did Tyrion look so guilty on the boat? Something isn't sitting right with him. So what she's suggesting there Because that was a weird scene when Tyrion's just like creeping in the boat, like, "You guys doing?"
Yeah, super weird.
I don't think this is the case, but is there room for maybe he has hatched a plot with Cersei?
No, that doesn't track.
No, yeah. I don't think he has.
Then we'll revisit the question later why he was being so creepy on the boat.
Why he was being a creeper?
He was being super creepy.
I think he was being a creeper because the showrunners wanted to show that it wasn't a secret affair Dany and Jon were having. No. Like, it was, people knew about it. It was pretty obvious. I think that's what they were using Tyrion to try to show. Logan does too.
Yeah.
Right, bud?
Aw. We're gonna make that the thumbnail. Yeah. You mentioned this also that it took the piss out of her threatening Jaime because she wouldn't kill Tyrion.
Yeah,
right. There's no way she would have not been able to kill Tyrion, but been able to kill Jaime. It wouldn't have made any sense.
I did mention her before you got here that my favorite shot of the episode was when that little fleck of snow fell onto his glove. Yeah. So cool. Such a
winter is here.
When it hits, you're like, oh, everyone's dead. Everyone at least north, you're I feel like you might lose Winterfell. You probably will lose Winterfell next season.
It'd be tough to hold. Yeah. It'd be tough to hold with all that and the dragon, man.
Especially with Cersei being like, fuck them. They're going to take Winterfell
first,
I don't care.
The Golden Company has elephants.
That's so cool. I mean, mammoths were my favorite part when the Battle of the Wall.
I still think my favorite of the big battles is the Battle of the Wall.
It's very cool.
Yeah, I suppose the war actually might come close. Mm-hmm. My favorite are when you have two sides where you're kind of conflicted about who you want coming out on the other end.
That's what Game of Thrones does well.
Yeah. Which is why I don't think Battle of the Bastards and Beyond the Wall, they're great spectacle-wise, they're amazing, but my engagement is not as much there as it was for some of the Blackwater.
Editing and fight choreo is the best I've ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm. We got a couple of tweets here. But man, when the elephants come, that's going to be so crazy.
Yes. Hey, little man. Let's plug it up.
Mm-hmm. But we got a couple tweets here. I'm excited for the elephants to show up because that's going to be so cool.
Yeah.
The elephants and dragons, and I want to see a dragon pick up an elephant, throw it.
That cool. Very well could happen. Yeah.
That's so cool. And if mammoths come down, there's probably a White Walker mammoth. Probably is, and that's gonna be so cool. Because if we get a bear, and a dragon, we get a mammoth. But we got a tweet here from Corey at Corey Cleveland 25. Do you think Bronn ends up joining Tyrion since Jaime left?
Yeah, I was actually weirded out that they didn't have Bronn with him right off the bat.
I think as soon as he figures out he's gonna run.
Yeah. Because he has no allegiance to anybody else there.
He has no allegiance to anybody unless they're giving him money.
I mean, Danny's going to be the new whatever, or John, maybe run over there. Makes more sense. And they can help you get a wife or whatever you want. It's a little bit gray what Jaime's promised Bronn. He's
castle and a lordship.
He's kind of a lord already. I'm not really sure. But let's see. We got a tweet here. Jake Sarmazian, shout out, hey man. Who else thought that Cersei was so far gone that she would kill the only person she had left? I almost had a heart attack. I didn't think that was going to happen, but I thought that the only dumb-ish, there's one other dumb moment, but one of the dumb moments was Tyrion not quite getting what Cersei was doing when she immediately went like this. I'm like, man, she's kind of
he got it.
Yeah, but he did after.
I thought that was the moment he discovered it, and he just waited
to drop the bomb.
It's a good thing that I guess the Mountain has a 2-tiered pass system before, you have to tell him twice to kill somebody because she gave him the nod, and then he just I guess you have to give him a confirmation code.
No, I thought that before that meeting happened, she must have said, even if I tell you to kill Jaime, don't kill Jaime.
Yeah.
Because she's done that before where she gives him explicit instructions before she enters a situation. And I feel like that was one of those moments.
Interesting. But other big stuff happened in this episode. The other really, really big one was Sansa and Arya. Really the only other plot that was happening. There was Theon stuff. We'll get to that later. But Sansa v. Arya. Because you mentioned this last episode, and I didn't really catch how dumb Sansa and Littlefinger were being, how she was falling for it, which she wasn't clearly. I
think she was. I don't think she figured it out until Littlefinger played his most paranoid game in the world. I think the worst in people, and then I go down that rabbit hole, and it makes me act like an asshole. Because I think the way I interpret it, and they leave it probably too open for interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
So she plays that game. So it's like, why would if Arya wanted to kill you, what would the reason be? And she goes down to be Lady Winterfell, and I think that's where the light bulb has to go off and be like, that doesn't make
Arya
any
doesn't
sense.
want to be the Lady Winterfell.
So you're playing me, and so that's when she realizes that she's being played.
I thought she knew way before that.
I thought she knew way before that too.
I mean, just watching the show, like
but why have the scene where she finds the faces? Like, who's that for then?
Curiosity.
Yeah, but like
no, I think this stuff between Arya and Sansa wasn't necessarily out in the open then.
No.
Like she was discovering that and trying to figure out what Arya was up to. But I think sometime, probably very soon after that, because Arya was on to Littlefinger the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, Arya is too good to be caught that badly and baited that badly.
Yeah.
So if Arya knew what was going on the whole time, and then Sansa was starting to figure out what Arya was up to, there has to have been a moment very soon after that where Arya and Sansa and Bran all got together and talked about it. So it had to have been after Bran got the sword or the dagger from Littlefinger, after Sansa discovered the faces, but I think before Littlefinger played that game with Sansa, because that scene, she is way too easily manipulated for everything she's been through. And she's just like, oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Wow, you're so smart, Littlefinger. Like, Sansa's come too far and seen too much shit to be that dumb. And when that scene happened, I thought, if they're writing her this dumb now in the show, after everything we've seen her, like all of her character arc and strength and everything, I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah. And even, I thought it was kind of dumb how they did the reveal of, like, it's Littlefinger on trial. They were like,
you thought that was dumb?
Because you saw it coming. I'm like,
I didn't see it coming at all, and I loved it. I ate that shit up.
I saw it coming more from a place of, like, that's what I needed them to do. Like, I've been waiting for them to wrap up this whole Arya and Sansa want to kill each other thing, because I don't buy it. Jump up, man.
Jump up,
I want to see him grab that.
But I liked. It makes sense because you're not going to be able to pull Littlefinger into the trial, so you have to like trick him in there. But I just loved. I can't remember the actor's name. Something Gillen. Like his face. Like, excuse me.
I loved it because I surely thought the showrunners were being dumb and Sansa was too easily manipulated, and we're going to lose a Stark tonight, and here it is. And then when she said Littlefinger, I was like, like I played right into it.
Dickfinger dead.
Dickfinger dead. Can I tell you my one problem? Because there are crimes that they accuse him of are all we've seen. However, it relies heavily on Bran's magic brain, which is fine as long as every Lord in Winterfell's down with that.
I mean, he could.
There's not like any evidence.
No, but
if he sat down though, he could like take pieces of people's lives and like lay it out for them. They're like, yeah, I can do this.
Yeah.
Like, he could.
I get that, but you know what I mean. Like, it requires a level of faith from the other Lords of Winterfell that it's like, I don't know, maybe.
I don't think it was that
evidence.
far-fetched. I feel like for the Lords of Winterfell who've been around long enough to watch all this happen, those pieces of the puzzle fit into place very well.
Yeah.
So if they're going to accuse him of that, I feel like everyone in that room is going to be like, oh yeah, that makes a lot more sense. That makes a lot more sense. And for the people from the Vale who were there to be like, oh, you did murder Liza. Cool. We thought that the whole time. Like all of this stuff, they're just like, oh yeah, okay, cool, you're a shit. And I know before I was like, I don't think Littlefinger's going to die. He's too OP. It's going to come down to Littlefinger and Varys. I appreciated that they brought up his crimes since the beginning. Yeah. So I feel like they murdered him, but the show murdered him off in a way that paid respect to everything he's done. So it was like, okay, we're killing this guy off, but first let's just remind everybody how much of a badass player in the game he was.
I did like Bran's thing. You put the knife to Ned's throat and you said, I told you not to trust me. It's like, yeah, that was a big, I think it was a big moment for me watching the first season. Like, oh man, the show's not messing around.
Yeah.
You know?
Just a quick question. Who did he get married to? Is he betrothed to? They gave him the control of the Vale?
Liza.
Is her son still alive? Because I know he tried to kill her.
Robin.
Kill him. Yeah, cool.
Ooh, Robin. You know what? Robin's probably not going to make it through the winter.
Breastfeeding McGee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was also a moment in that first season. It's like, oh, all the sons of lords are probably little shits.
Robin though is so sickly and Oh, poor Robin.
He's so fucking
But,
bad.
like,
And
in
pulling a
his
bow and
scenes-
arrow, he's so bad at
But
it.
like in his scenes with Sansa, like you realize like it's not really his fault.
It's interesting that you say you're into that, because I thought when I was watching the scene, like, I'm into this because I'm ready for Littlefinger to move on. But I was like, Trisha's gonna hate this.
I thought they paid the respect that his character was due, and I appreciated that. If they had just killed him and not brought up all the stuff he had done,
No.
I feel like a lot of people that maybe hadn't rewatched the previous seasons or whatever recently would have just been like, oh, good, he's skeevy, I'm glad he's gone.
Yeah.
Without really realizing how big of a player he's been this entire time.
Yeah. I think my moment, I knew it was going to work out all right when Bran was there. When it wasn't just Sansa, I'm like, Bran's not going to let this fly. Like,
I thought that too. I was like, Bran's just cool with her killing Arya. What?
So-
even Robot Bran is too tuned in to be like, oh, but hold on.
I felt like Bran was a little less robot Bran in this scene, and I like
In
that.
this scene.
I think it's good. I think it's really matters to give somebody a good supporting character to play off of. And I think Bran and Sam is a winning combo
Mhm.
because it allowed Bran. He was the straight man in like a comedy duo. So like when he pulls out, he's not making a joke when he pulls out the thing, but it plays as a joke because of the way the scene plays, and it makes you like him more.
Yeah.
So I keep Sam and Bran together. I think that's a good. I think that's a good setup.
I love Sam.
Seems great.
Sam just was a maester for like maybe a couple weeks, and he just ran back to.
He's
But,
never-
no.
No.
He's not a maester either.
Well, no, the timeline we in the show, he's been in the Citadel for like 6 months.
Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, he's been there a long time.
Because even watching the show when I did, they're like, "Oh, we've known." Sam's like, "Oh, I've known John for years." I'm like, "Damn, I can't follow what this show's doing. I still can't even follow. Like, it still feels like months have gone by. I'm not sure."
I'm still wishing for that slower timeline, but I know I'm in the minority.
We have another section we want to hit up. We want to talk about Dany and John for a second, but really quick, what did you guys think of Theon's little mini arc that he got in this episode? Because until Euron was brought up of like going to go get the golden army, the golden compass, whatever that was, it was like, Theon, just shut up, man. Like there's like so many bigger issues happening right now for you to have like a redemption arc. Now I get it, and it's really cool. And him getting kicked in the nuts. Or the no nuts. Amazing. Like that was such a cool scene for Theon that he hasn't had forever.
Yeah.
So it made me happy and it made it worth it. But I was just like, man, just go in the back. Like stop. I was like, just like get out of here. I don't need you here.
I thought for sure Theon was gonna die in that scene, and I was okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would have been proud of him for going out trying to save his sister finally.
Yeah.
And it would have made sense for how downtrodden and beaten he's been, that would have been his end. But like, A for effort, sir.
Yeah.
But the fact that it came down to he doesn't have a penis to kick and managed to fight anyway and rally everyone to his side, I was like, all right, man. Now his scene with John, I didn't dig so much. I didn't care.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I love that.
Did you really? Why?
Because it reminded me of Ned. John reminded me of Ned. This episode made me feel like John is the new Ned, and I'm so down for that.
Oh, he totally is.
And,
I agree.
I was tearing up because it's like that's really powerful to take just this real pathetic person that really did all awful things and be able to go, oh no, it's gone forever. And to be able to say, like, listen, for what I can't, you messed up. No, I'm not I'm not backpedaling that, but as much as I can, I forgive you.
Right.
And then that empowers Theon, and the fact that you can be a Stark and it meant a lot to me. I love that scene. I love it a lot. And then it led right into him fighting with the guy. My one problem with that, my one is the guy's like, you get back up, I'm gonna kill you. It's a great opportunity for when Theon's beaten up, be like, what is dead may never die, and like spit blood in his face, and I beat him up. Monica, my wife brought that up, and it was like that would have been amazing.
Also,
Although he's not that badass.
Yeah, but it would have been cool.
Being a Stark and a Greyjoy, when they mentioned that, I was like, oh, he's a Targaryen and a Stark. Like
yeah.
that's like
it's like foreshadowing. It is foreshadowing. That
100%.
scene meant a lot to me.
100%. But coming to the incest,
Logan too.
incest.
Here. I'm gonna hand him to you for a second while I go get a passy.
Fine.
You're fine. You're fine.
DJ's a natural parent.
What's up, man?
You don't have to stare in his eyes.
You're staring in my eyes. You're staring in my eyes.
Come here, Ned. Mommy's got a new passy. It's all right.
Yay! But anyway, so we dealt with Theon, and
yeah, we got at like the hey Danny, maybe you should fly to Winterfell because it's safer. John's like, you should ride with me for political.
I got big bag.
Yeah.
I got big bag. It's cold. The winter's coming. Come with me, please. Yeah, that was silly. Also, Tyrion, don't be
maybe that's also why they had Tyrion there, because Tyrion doubted that decision to have her travel with him in the first place.
Yeah.
So maybe they were putting 2 and 2 together, that Tyrion was like, you guys are only traveling together so you can bang. And then he was like, see your bang.
Yeah, I read that as Tyrion was thinking like, oh, this is going to make things so much more complicated when you introduce the romance dynamic. I don't know. It just feels weird that that'd be something he'd be worried about, considering how focused he is on getting laid all the time, or was in the past. Like, I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on Tyrion creeping?
Oh, creeping?
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense what was happening.
Because like the music tone is like an evil person's there, and then Tyrion's like, what the?
Well,
I think that entire sequence was maybe not what the show intended it to be, because it comes across as very like, he's actually a Targaryen and Dany's his aunt. Cut to them screwing. Yeah. Also, did I mention Daenerys is his aunt? Cut to them screwing again.
I think that is the
he hates it.
Yeah, he is not a big fan at all.
I get it. But
I had the same reaction last night because like that. Because I've mentioned least favorite part about the show. One of them, besides like rape and the brutal murders, is the incest. So and also it was weird. It was like a weird sex scene that Brienne's narrating. He's like, oh yeah, like they're related, and then it cuts back to them just pounding out. I'm like, this is so
it was
so weird.
I thought going back to the flashback was beautiful.
That was cool.
That was really cool.
Not the other part.
Well, I think it is. I think it's because the show, like, I don't, because I mentioned in the behind the scenes of the episode, I think that it is trying to undercut to a degree. I think they've learned that one thing people expect from the show is that you don't always get what you want. In the broad terms, that means characters you love die, but also in a micro term that like when Joffrey dies, it's not really rewarding. Like,
I liked Joffrey.
Really, I want it to be a little bit more visceral, personally.
You want it again, blender. You want some sort of medieval blender.
Yeah,
I don't know, the clawing at the neck and like watching that happen is pretty satisfying.
I think you told me in the book, like he literally tearing at his neck. It's like put that in the show, man. Like, come on, hit Joffrey. And I think this is one of those moments where it's kind of like, this seems good-ish, but I think that's the intention. I feel weird because I like it. I want it to happen. I don't want to feel bad about it. But all the people that are against incest have gotten to me. Like, not against incest. Incest is bad. The context here have gotten to me, and I don't. It's hard to justify the show being okay with that. And it also, if the goal is to like, hey, Dany and Jon are together now, but now we're going to make you feel weird about it. Why then? Why are we doing it?
It's George R.R.'s last FU.
I don't like that they need to make us feel weird about it, because, I mean, we know from history it was common for, like in real life, royalty to marry within their own family. The Targaryens, in the way that they're written in their family history is in the books, they marry each other all the time.
Yeah, and it's not,
so like this, it's not super weird in the world of the book. Like twincest is weird.
Yeah.
But like marrying cousins seems to be okay.
I was doing research. Tywin was married to his cousin.
Right, they are.
Yeah.
It's not super weird.
I know it's not, but
within the context. Yeah. Within the context, but it's hard for the show to justify that, especially since it's a modern show.
We'll be back.
All right.
We're going to talk more about incest.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye, Logan.
Bye, Logan. We miss you.
But for then, I actually have a question from Ariel at Seaside_B. Shout out. Do you think they'll let the incest slide? Also, predictions. I think Jaime is going to kill Cersei. Also, I'm so happy for Theon. Yeah, we're happy for Theon.
Yeah.
He's gonna die. Like.
He's
gonna die. Like, it's easy. Theon's gonna be dead very soon. Hopefully he takes out Euron when he does it, and Yara gets to be happy.
Yeah.
But she did lose her girlfriend, and that's a bit of a bummer. But
she'll be fine.
I realize the annoyance of the Sand Snakes. Like, they were fine. They didn't have that big of an impact on the show, but I'm like, it's fine. They're gone. It's not the biggest thing.
Do I think they'll let it slide? Actually, I always told Trisha gets back, because I see 3 ways they could go with it. I thought though, that they were gonna like, I think I might have said this before the episode, maybe earlier in the episode, where it was kind of like, hey, like just not mention, like, Jon's a Targaryen. I thought that was going to be the show's take on it, and they were never going to get to the fact that like Jon and Dany are a little bit closer related than we thought, and they were just going to, and then the people that do that research were going to be like, well, actually, you know what I mean? But as far as the impact on the show, they weren't going to really dive into it, just to not make the audience feel weird about it. But now it seems like it's going to be a plot point, because not only do we have to worry about Jon's feelings or Dany's feelings on familial relations, but also the fact that Jon technically is a threat to Dany's claim to the throne, which I think is actually probably going to be a bigger plot point.
Probably. And maybe we'll get like a 10-minute scene of them just both vomiting, realizing that what they did.
Yeah.
Gross.
I do think that the audience
is the same
more,
age, roughly.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think that's why so many people like somebody. So we got a lot of tweets like, is it weird that I'm not bothered by it? I think it's people aren't bothered by it because when you talk about one, it's not directly. They're not siblings, which gives you just a one more thing a distance.
And it's not a mom and it's not like a parent and a child.
Yeah, and even if normally when you say aunt and nephew, for me, the weirdest part right off the bat is the power relation. You have like an adult with a younger person, so there seems like an abuse of power there. And since Jon and Dany are the same age, and also since they don't emotionally, they don't have context for each other in that way. It takes away a lot of what normally you would associate with weird. It doesn't make it not weird though.
Well, George is laughing that he's like, everyone's gonna have to justify incest because they love these characters so much.
Because I think they would make a really great royal couple.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think.
But now you have to justify it.
I have to justify it. I have to justify it, and I don't like feeling weird about it.
You should, I
tweeted Sam a theory last night that ended up not even being close to true, although I think it would have been cool.
But tell them.
Okay. So I was wondering, I didn't know if we'd have time. The episode was titled "The Wolf and the Dragon," so I figured like, hey, we're gonna get to. I thought Jon was gonna find out his parentage, and I was like, I don't know how Jon gets to Winterfell by the end of this episode, which turns out he didn't. He still doesn't know, weirdly. So my theories didn't matter. So I was like, okay, if Jon's gonna find out his parentage, and we know Cersei's been scheming all season. Qyburn's been in her room all the time, like they're.
I get now why Qyburn's so scary, and I didn't get what the little birds, is that what he calls them? I didn't know that literally they were children that were running around. That Varys had kids that he was using sweets like a little.
Yeah. So they had to they had to really backpedal and like make sure everybody knew Varys isn't a pedophile. But Qyburn's weird. But I thought that perhaps Qyburn, doing the creepy shit he does, found out Jon's parentage, and so Cersei was going to use that as her play during the big meet, where she's like, "Oh, you know what, Dany? You know your claim to the throne you're good, but there's a better claim to the throne, and I'm going to back that." Like Cersei was going to straight up back Jon as the heir to the throne and use that to drive a wedge between them. And then I had a backup one again because I'm trying to process how I feel about Jon and Dany's relationship. I was also going to be like, also, Dany, turns out you're not full Targaryen, and that you're because Dany's dad, the Mad King, had a thing for Tywin's wife, Cersei, Tyrion, Jaime's mom, and that is why there's a big fan theory that Tyrion's half Targaryen. And so I was like, what if it ended up that
Dany is too?
That to get back at him, she slept with Tywin, and so Dany was like half Lannister. That's very much soap opera. That's very. I think they're going to have to come to terms with. They're going to have to either be yay incest or nay incest. Like they're going to have to pick a side on that one and just go with it instead of doing the weird loops that I'm trying to do in my brain to like.
I bet
Dany's not full Targaryen.
The writers have bet all season,
and
that means George left because everybody knows that he left notes or he
has an outline. He gave him an
outline, and then that was there, and they're like, okay, and we got to justify this somehow. So let's kind of just try to scoot it.
I also kind of wonder if that's why George R. R. Martin's been laying off. Is like, let's see how they. I also think that's why they didn't reveal, because they realized they put themselves in a kind of a sweet spot where it's like, if the outline was Jon and Dany bone, but he's also related. It's like, okay, so now we finally reveal his relation. Jon and Dany bone, but they don't know. So now they have over a year to see how the audience responds, so they know how to play that out for the end game.
Interesting.
Without like committing to like, no, they're cool with incest. Do you know what I mean? Like,
we're still talking about it.
Yeah. Okay. So now I want to get into my. I see 3 different ways this could play out.
Okay.
Either because it sounds like they're going to embrace how weird it might be. Either
the incest counter?
Danny, I think we can all agree, Danny's definitely going to get super 100% pregnant from this.
Yeah, because they've said that she can't get pregnant like 9.
Yeah, I did.
Well, that's interesting. I didn't even think about that. You're right.
I actually really like that scene where he's like, "Yeah, you keep mentioning you don't have kids. What made you think that?" And I liked her response. I wish he had a follow up to that. She's like, "Oh, the witch that murdered my husband." I wish he had We'll talk about that later.
We'll unpack that.
but I like this response. Like, maybe that's not the most reliable source, you know. So I feel like she's definitely going to get pregnant. So either A, she gets pregnant and John super dies by the end of the show, and so they don't. That's how we get around the whole incest. Then dealing with it because he's dead, so they don't have to figure out whether they're going to marry it or anything. If both of them make it out of the show, it would shock me if she's pregnant, if John will be like, ooh, it's incest, I'm going to leave a bastard around. He's not going to have his kid be a bastard. So that might be the way the show justifies John being okay with an incest marriage, because he's not going to have a bastard. You know what I mean? 3, they just, I guess, rule separately or whatever. I think it's the first 2. I think it's either John dies and they have a one true Targaryen baby, or they use the fact that John would be very much against having a bastard to explain why, because in this growing up where he grew up, incest is not as common.
I want to combine your theory numero dos with an explanation from either Sam or Danny that's like, Targaryens have always married each other.
Yeah,
that's
but that resulted in the Mad
years.
King. That resulted in the Mad King, so you still wouldn't necessarily be down for that.
Well, I think the Mad King came as a result of many things. It's not like incest directly led to
And that was also like a couple generations of sibling marriage.
Maybe happened from Bran telling everybody to burn the White Walkers.
Ooh. Maybe. I also floated to Sam, like, because I'm trying to do loops.
I think burn them all was straight up Bran.
We'll find out. I was doing, because I was telling Sam, because I'm doing backflips in my brain to like be okay, because I think they make a great ruling couple, John and Danny.
They balance each other well.
They balance each other well. I was wondering if maybe I did a whole theory, but I was wondering if maybe there would be a reveal. And I brought this up that maybe Danny's not full Targaryen, because in the research I've been doing, Danny's dad, Aegon, Aerys, whatever, Mad King, had a thing for the Lannister mom, Tywin's wife, which is why people think Tyrion might be.
I was going to say that's the Tyrion.
So maybe to get back at him, Mama Targaryen had a thing with Tywin, and that resulted in Danny. Just to get you more. It's very soap opera, but just to get you one more level of separation.
I'm a little upset that now it seems like that Tyrion being a secret Targaryen thing is kind of out the window.
Oh yeah, he doesn't have a dragon ride.
Yeah, there's no more dragons, so the dragon rider prophecy is not really a thing that we know of.
Prophecies suck, guys.
I'm just glad his name isn't John Sand, because that would have been so lame. That would be so lame.
We talked about this? Did we talk about this in the episode? Lockjaw at Pelser, man, John was born before or after the Mountain killed baby Aegon? Because technically John is the second baby Aegon sired by Rhaegar.
Oops.
Yeah, that is very confusing and also true. He is the second baby Aegon, fathered by Rhaegar. Is it before or after? That's a great question.
I guess we just have to accept in the world of the show it was before.
No, it would have been after, because the rebellion started because Robert was pissed that Rhaegar raped and kidnapped Lyanna. So that whole thing, but that would have been 9 months later.
If even that, because they were still together during that. So it could have been like up to a year or something.
But I think the babies being murdered was the end of the rebellion.
Well,
wasn't Rhaegar murdered at the same time as the babies?
Is Rhaegon John's dad or Aegon?
Rhaegar.
Oh, God, I can't keep. This is the part I can't keep track.
You just have to read the whole
I think
World
it
of
was before.
Westeros.
I think he had 2 sons named Aegon, which is super confusing.
Like he really liked the name, and one
like it's
died.
like he knew the other one was gonna die.
Yeah, he well, he also kind of like threw that one away because he annulled the marriage. But it was also referenced that apparently, I guess, Rhaegar was way into the prophecy of the prince that was promised. And so maybe he was hedging, whatever. There was a theory that it was Jaehaerys.
I just name them all that.
Yeah, it was just Jaehaerys Targaryen was another theory. It's like maybe do that because we're definitely, whatever the name is, we're definitely not going to call him that.
No,
it's going to be John. Yeah, like.
But the end of the episode, we get what we kind of all call coming by the end of the season is a part of the wall came down. Not the whole thing.
That was DJ's call.
If the whole thing came down, that would have been a nightmare. It's
already a nightmare.
It's
still
back
and again, it makes the plan from Beyond the Wall look real dumb because that was like, what was the White Walkers' plan if they didn't have a dragon? That's what I want.
Because they can't get.
But there weren't many people defending the wall anyway. They probably could have gotten past the wall.
But the dead can't get past it
because of the magic in it. That's what Coldhand says.
Benjen.
That's what Coldhand said.
No,
Benjen's dead. Sorry, I got to season 6. Yeah. That's
the fire flail is real cool though.
It is.
It's a real cool weapon. They should bring it back.
But he's dead.
Do we think? Hold on. There's a Brendan Lawrence at Brendan Lawrence 1. Did Tormund die? We didn't see him escape before the wall collapsed.
I know Tormund and Dondarrion are both there.
No, he's there. He's okay. He jumped. The wall fell at an area. Yeah. He had jumped to the spot that was still intact.
I was going to say because I did not. I'm glad you pointed that out because I did not see that. And you just see him on the bridge, and then you see like a huge chunk of the wall. And I'm like, I don't know if anybody.
I don't know if anybody. That's what I thought. I thought everyone just died.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like he jumped to the part of the wall that was still intact.
I think you're probably right because in true Game of Thrones fashion, if you don't see somebody die, they're probably not.
If they were dead, we would have definitely seen them like, oh no, and a piece of chunk fall.
Right.
Yeah, and then like sad music. Right. But realistically, I don't think anybody would have made that away from that because it was real nightmare. It was real bad.
And you got your ice dragon, but not an ice dragon. You got
blue energy evil
beam. Sounds a lot cooler than dragons already sound cool. By the way, I forgot to mention this. Whenever the dragons show up when they've been gone and missing for a while, whatever that music score is makes me want to cry. It's the most beautiful thing ever. It's when the main dragon came back to Dany on the pyramid. Like that's it's like season 5 or something. Like and when she escapes the Dothraki camp. And then here, when the dragon flies into the arena thing, like, that's nice. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. But yeah, you got your ice dragon.
Well, we don't know. Is it blue fire or is it ice?
I call blue fire.
I would imagine if it's hitting something other than the wall, it definitely looks like energy and fire. But I would imagine it's going to freeze things when it hits living things.
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense based on what we just saw. But I don't think it'll matter by the time.
Maybe it runs hotter. Blue is hotter.
Blue is hotter. It's definitely scary.
It's definitely scary.
I'm also a little. It's really cool when you have an evil giant flying thing that has holes in its wings, but it always makes me wonder, like, how are you creating lift?
I'm okay with it. And also, did it seem like dead dragon flew way faster than the live dragon?
So fast. Yeah. It looked so fast. I was like, what is happening right now? It's going to be a Winterfell by like the minute 1 of a season.
They were moving so fast.
Yeah,
I was like, Winterfell, fuck.
Yeah.
Do we know if you have to be killed by a White Walker to come back as a White Walker, or if you just die on the north, you turn into a White Walker? I
think you have to be killed by. They go ahead and burn all the bodies all the time,
just to be safe. Yeah,
but I think you got to be killed by a White or a White Walker.
Or do you have to be raised by a Walker, like the dragon was?
Because the guy that they brought back, John, he came back just dead. Yeah, and then he became a White.
Yeah, so that's why they started burning. So because I was like, oh, you could Littlefinger might not be totally dead.
It also doesn't make sense.
I hate that.
That would be a nightmare. That's also a little shaky rule because Benjen did say he couldn't go to the wall because of the things, but we had a White become a White in the wall, and then we were able to bring that one undead guy there fine, all the way to
well, he was just a corpse when he went through the wall. He was in the wall.
Yeah, but then the one they brought to the meeting today, fine.
Yeah, they brought him through
all the way to where it was warm. That was my concern. I was like, it's warm there, maybe he'll fall out and be dead.
It's when the box wasn't moving.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, they took him all the way down here. It's not even alive anymore. Oh my god.
We got a tweet here from Diana Castillo at Diana A. Castle. Did they need a dragon to destroy the wall? I thought Bran going through with the mark on his hand weakened the wall's effects. And I was like, that was actually kind of an interesting tweet because that messed up the Ravens' little hidey hole.
Yeah.
Because you get the little...
But it also, you have the same problem there where it makes the heroes look real dumb because they're responsible for... I would have at least like some hint that the Whites had a plan to get past the wall anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if Bran is the Night King, then he would have known that the whole time. And then he would have let himself through the wall, not stupidly, because he knows he's the Night King.
Yeah.
If that theory is true.
Yeah, I don't think that theory is true.
They did change the actor of the Night King to someone whose nose looks a lot more like Bran's.
Fans also did Photoshop the Night King's pendant onto Bran to make that theory seem more plausible.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a picture circulating with Bran, like it's a circled around Bran's pendant and then the Night King's thing.
And it was Photoshop?
Definitely Photoshop.
That was a great reveal, though, of the White Army when they showed up. It was just like the one horse.
Yeah.
And basically, the forest disappears, and you realize those were all people sitting down there. And they have the giants. I'm like, I miss the giants so much.
Ice Giant, yeah.
1-1. I was super depressed when he died.
Yep.
Yeah,
he was awesome.
That was a crazy death.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, yeah. So what are our predictions for season 8 when it comes in late 2018, maybe early 2019?
They'll have to deal with the incest pretty quick. And
do you think they'll start? I feel like they'll start with everybody arriving in Winterfell, and maybe that's just wishful thinking because that's how the whole show started. And so the idea of having all the characters that we have showing up at Winterfell.
I think they're going to start in Winterfell, which doesn't make any sense timeline-wise because the Whites would get there way faster than everybody else. I think.
Unless this happens way later in time. The wall falling down happens
maybe
decades from now.
But no, I agree with you. I think everyone's going to be in Winterfell and trying to figure out their petty shit.
Yeah.
And then surprise Whites are here.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to play a lot like this season where in fact, I think the first episode of the season might be one of my favorites the show's done. But it would be very slow and emotional, unpacking emotional things. And then like literally every episode after that's just going to be insanity.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be insanity. It has to be insanity.
If
they have way too much to do.
If every episode was 2 hours too, that'd be pretty fun
to
deal with all that. I think, oh man, if they all get to Winterfell, I feel like if you're going to get a reveal of a White Walker, it's going to be the dragon. It's going to be the dragon that gets there before everybody else, and you're like, oh my god, we have no plan to take.
You know what? That's also probably a reason. That's another plot reason why they explained that Dany not flying up with their dragons, because it's a way to delay the inevitable dragon battle. Like if the White show up with the dragon, then everybody just has to bail on Winterfell. Mm-hmm. Like it delays our giant endgame dragon battle for a couple episodes.
I feel like there is going to be no battle for Winterfell. I feel like they're going to have to bail on Winterfell anyway because how?
Yeah.
How could that even work right now? And I also feel like Bran, we've seen him check in on where the Whites are. It can't be long before Bran's like, hey, so they're coming real fast. We should probably, we
need to book it. Yeah. But I do like that we kind of showed that Bran's not super OP because he can see everything as long as he chooses to look.
Right.
It's not like he's plugged in all the time. Like he has to direct himself.
I thought that was an interesting moment as well because my first thought was the same thing, when he's like saying John Sand. And Sam's like, but that's not true because of the secret marriage. I was like, how does Bran not know about the secret marriage? Yeah. But he never chose to look.
He just didn't check in. So what's he been looking at? Porn.
Probably.
Yeah, porn. A lot of porn. I mean, he's a teenager.
Isn't that what you would look at?
Yeah, he's a teenager.
Everything?
He did watch his dad get murdered like step by step. So that was a bit of a bummer. That's what he spent most of his time doing.
Small town Natalie at Sanford Natalie. Do you think that Cersei is going to die in childbirth? It would be at the hands of her brother. Love you guys. I guess being that's how Tyrion killed Mom. I'd be poetic. I don't think there's a death for Cersei that's not poetic at this point. Like if either brother or she dies in childbirth, it's like
she's gonna die.
Yeah, unless she dies from a bad cough or something.
What if she just gets exiled at the end of the series? She lives the whole way through, and then they're just like, "Nah, death's too good for you."
I'm bummed. I'm bummed that we're not gonna get to see them. I feel like there's so many interesting character dynamics you could have by them just trying to work together. And I'm bummed that they've just bailed on that. Like Cersei's just going to keep it's basically the same conflict we went into this season, where it's like you've got the problem in the south and the problem in the north, and now just both problems are way worse.
Although I don't know that. Well, I guess Cersei did say she's going to continue being the problem in the south, because she's like, well, they all go north to get slaughtered. Yeah. I'm just going to take over all the castles they've abandoned. Yeah. She did say that.
And then she can create like a barrier with all those elephants. Yeah, and then when like everyone's evacuating Winterfell, they're trying to come south as quickly as they can, and they're being followed by the whites. So they realize, oh my god, we're fucked. Like we're super fucked.
I mean, it's not a bad plan if you're going to be honest.
Yeah, you know what would be interesting?
The threat to the north.
If episode 1, if they go to Winterfell, Jon has to deal with his parentage. They deal with that for a minute, and then Bran's like, let's wrap this up. We need to go. If there's some way we got to have a conflict, a face-to-face between the Night's King and either Jon or probably more likely Dany, because she can speak High Valyrian, which is probably what the Night's King speaks. And we get a moment of like, I want to know what the Night King wants. One of the things that I liked this season is that it wasn't straight. We did get big battles, but there was like strategic, like we're going to attack these places for these reasons, and we're doing this for this. It's like, is it just going to be onslaught for like 3 episodes with the Night's King? I would like to know. I would like there to be some planning and strategy. And
yeah, because what is their strategy? Yeah. You're absolutely right. Right now they're just this 2-dimensional big baddie, and it would be nice to know their motivation or anything like that beyond we were made via dragon glass, we can be killed via dragon glass, which still makes no sense.
It does not really.
But does that mean if they kill the Night's King, everything just kind of falls over and dies?
Yes. The problem is he's now riding a super fast dragon that shoots energy ice blasts.
Yeah, I guess everything.
But if you made one of those spears, that giant Kyber crossbow, and you put a little dragon glass in the front of it, and they shot the dragon, it would kill the dragon.
Oh, that's true.
And does he fall? Can he die from height?
Can they get access? What's the spear is called? The Scorpion, right?
The Scorpion, yeah.
Can they have access to the Scorpion without Cersei's army and people being there? Like,
I doubt it.
Does Jaime know how to make that?
No.
They kind of like, I mean, they saw it. Dany's like, that'd be a pretty good idea, and like, see, hopefully they can come up with it.
Although again, we've just a big crossbow. That dragon is moving very fast.
Yeah.
It was hard to hit Dany's dragon.
Right. Bronn did though.
He did. Bronn's probably not gonna make it out of the series.
What if Bran wargs into the ice dragon and crashes it?
Maybe. We don't know.
We've not seen him warg into the undead. That'd be interesting to see him try.
That would be interesting.
Also, bring back more undead bears. I would like more undead animals.
I want the undead mammoths.
Yeah, mammoths would be cool, and the giants riding them.
Yes, that was very cool. Zach Haynes at Zach6670. Between DJ Talks Trash and Sam Bashor, who would have a better chance of becoming the king of the 7 kingdoms?
Between you two?
I guess so.
Wait, yeah. I'll give it to you.
I think the obvious answer is Trisha.
There we go. Hey.
I think
she'll outsmart us very quickly in this world.
Yeah. Just like in Westeros, I think we would all have our various strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
I'll be like House Mormont, where it's like you have an army of 60 people. That's fine. Like that's fine. I have like this little area to myself. I'm good.
Yeah.
Or I'll be like Hot Pie. I'll have like my kitchen, and then that's about it. No one's gonna kill me.
Yeah.
Why would you kill me?
The undead are coming.
Yeah, you'd be the Hot Pie. I feel like I would probably end up going the way of Cersei, unfortunately, where I'd be like, you screwed me over. Screw you. I'm going to murder you now, much to my own.
Yeah, I feel like I'd be one of the Starks. I'm going to do the right thing and be dead. Be super dead.
Here's a theory. It's not going to happen. You know how King's Landing is just lined with dragon, what is it called? Fire breath?
Dragon glass?
Dragon?
The green fire.
The green fire.
Wildfire.
Wildfire. They said that the Mad King like lined the city with it. That's how they blew up the sept. That just get all the White Walkers in there. You just lure them in with like some meat or something, and then they like close it off and they boom light it up.
I wouldn't surprise me if they're like
that's an Avengers type ending to a movie.
If the plan was to do that, it's just like I used it all on the set.
Oof.
So there's
I'm an evil bitch.
Yeah.
There's a good question. How do we do we think the White Walkers are going to be defeated and the living side's going to win? And B, if so, how do we think they're going to be defeated?
Kill Night King, and then they all just fall over, and it's just like
it can't be that easy.
No, but they set it up to be that easy though. With this season they set it up,
which is an Avengers.
It is the literal ending to it.
I feel like the first 3 episodes are going to be dealing with the Night's King, and it is going to be some sort of epic thing. And then I feel like, and maybe this is wishful thinking on my part, and then the back end is going to be dealing with Cersei. And maybe that's wishful thinking just because Cersei's a more interesting villain to me.
She is. I wonder if Cersei is going to be somehow killed by the Night King or in that conflict, and then they're not even going to have to deal with defeating Cersei or usurping the throne or any of the moral complications that come with that, because I think circumstantially she may just die.
That tracks, because it's funny, by the time Dany went over to Winterfell, a lot of the conflicts, she's like, how's she gonna deal with this, had worked themselves out.
Okay, theory.
Yeah.
Something goes wrong with the mountain when he goes, like, for some reason, like Cersei and the mountain go north.
Yeah.
I feel like the mountain being near the Night King and being undead too, it's not gonna it's not going to work the same.
Kills her. I'd love that.
Yeah, I think basically, because he is the same thing. He's the same thing. He's rotting. It'd
be like
dead.
Ramsay getting murdered by his dogs.
I have a feeling that we're going to get the mountain turning on Cersei in some way. My money's on that.
I'm fascinated about the idea of her dying in childbirth. It would be interesting, like, if she had a dwarf, you know what I mean, or something.
You don't.
That'd be so good.
Yeah.
Do you think they'd actually come full circle with that, though?
I don't know, man.
That seems like a stretch. Even though it's like an incest baby and things go wrong and stuff. But
that'd be real nice, sweet revenge.
It'd be interesting. But we know we know the whites are coming. We know we're getting the Golden Company and their elephants. I'm excited about that.
That's about it. I mean, and we have to deal with incest that, like, everyone's trying to justify. Like with Jaime and Cersei, like, no, that's bad. And now we're like,
but Jaime and Cersei are twins.
So see, you're doing it.
I straight up, I'll admit it. I am justifying it because Jaime and Cersei are brother and sister. That's real bad. Immediate nuclear family. That's real bad.
Yeah.
However, cousins, like we said, in history, IRL, and in the history of Westeros, have done it before.
Yeah. And also,
brother and sister is super icky. Cousins is like mildly icky.
Twins.
And there's precedence for it.
Yeah.
Not saying that I want to like shack up with any of my cousins or anything like that, because gross.
You're just saying historically. And I think also, I was telling Sam this too, it's also because there's so much distance between Jon and Dany. They don't have any, genetically it's all there, but as far as emotionally and like family structure wise, none of that baggage is there. So I think that's why we're all a little bit more comfortable with it. I don't know.
Like, yeah, if he grew up with his actual parents and knowing her as Aunt Daenerys.
Weird.
Super weird.
Super weird. But the fact that they have literally zero context for that, like they were across the planet for most of the series, like, man.
I like that.
It's going to make for a real interesting moment when they all find it out, though.
Yeah, I was telling Sam, I think the bigger conflicts, at least for Dan, actually, this is probably exactly how it'll play out. John's going to be real weird about the incest part. Danny's going to be a lot more concerned about the fact that he has a better claim to the throne.
Yeah, it's like, priorities.
Yeah, Danny's going to be like, incest, I'm a Targaryen, whatever.
Now we need to get married, obviously.
Yeah,
clearly. But any final thoughts on the episode? Because I think we've got our piece out on it.
Yes, love the episode. Wish Cersei was actually on the team. I know it's not quite in line with the character, but I think it would have been a better payoff to this season. That made it feel a little less pointless. But overall, especially watching the episode, loved it.
Trisha?
I absolutely loved all the total edge of your seat, oh shit moments in this episode. I felt like there was a lot of payoff. So as a fan who has been reading the books for literally decades, it was really, really fun to watch. From a writing perspective, from a pacing perspective, I definitely had issues with it. But as a fun episode, I enjoyed it immensely.
Very cool. I really enjoyed it too. I'm sucked in now, so I'm excited for the final season of the show.
This next year or more of wait is going to be torture for you because you haven't had to wait before.
But I haven't. But also, I don't have that need to know what's going to happen next. I'm just going to be excited when it comes. Also, I might just kind of forget everything that I've watched, and we'll watch it all over again.
Yeah.
We'll watch it all.
Yeah.
You'll do it anyway.
Listen, I rewatched the whole series before this, and I was like, that'll be fine. It's like I kind of want to do it.
Why don't we just take a week, get a bunch of junk food and snacks and stuff, and live stream rewatching everything.
Almost 70 episodes, 70 hours.
I'm down.
Relive all of it.
Yeah. You know I've done it. But in the meantime, we'll be watching Smallville, so go ahead and tune in for that. All of it. I'm going to make you watch.
Wait, you're rewatching Smallville?
No, I can't do that to myself.
Oh!
You already did. I already
watched all 10 seasons. One time through. It's such garbage.
I gave up when it got shitty.
Oh, that's immediate.
No,
when Tom Welling spoke, you're
I tuned in around 4, 5, and 6, which was pretty solid. Bailed out for a little bit. Season 10, I think, is good. The way they wrapped up, I think, is good. Yeah.
I divorced myself around 6.
When a show goes on for 10 seasons, it goes through ups and downs. And by the end, it had reached another up. So, you know.
There you go.
10 seasons.
This is what you get to look forward to if we do a Smallville show. We won't do it. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed. Thanks for sticking with us for all these reviews.
Trisha, thank you for doing this with us.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I have to have people that I can discuss Game of Thrones with, because anytime I try to discuss it on Twitter, I get 50 million people that are like, spoilers.
Yeah.
Even when I try not to be spoilery, I just need to talk about it.
You did it to yourself.
Right, someone just tweeted me the other night, like, because I was like, who do you think's going to die tonight? And I gave a couple of options. And then someone was like, well, now I know the Hound's alive. And I'm like, how long have you been not watching?
That's on you. That's your fault.
That's on you.
Yeah, that's your fault.
That's on you. But guys, thank you to everyone who supported us and contributed on Patreon, but also everyone who supports us any other way. We hope you enjoyed this. Let us know what else we should talk about. And also, we're coming back with another review-like type show. We won't say anything just yet.
Yeah.
Keep your peepers peeled.
And also, if you're like, hey, what about the other episodes of the season? They're all on our Patreon, patreon.com/onlystupidanswers. So you can check all those out there. And how.
Patreon is so cool. Yeah. I super support anyone that's doing that, and anyone out there who is supporting creators that you love. Thank you guys for everyone who supports Sam and DJ and Only Stupid Answers. I think it's a really cool way that media has gone, you know, as opposed to the YouTube structure we all grew to know and love in the beginning. I think it's very cool.
Yeah.
Keep supporting content creators.
You would definitely not be getting any of this extra content from us without Patreon.
Yeah, that's the only way we can make it work. So thank you one more time just for fun. Where can they find you, DJ?
DJ Talks Trash every place that matters.
Trisha.
At That Girl Trish, no, I am the girl.
Very cool. She's also up there.
Yeah, thanks.
Right over there. At Sam Bashor. Guys, thank you so much. Check out our episode that's up right now talking about Death Note. More stuff coming out this week. We're going to see Inhumans. Get ready, DJ. Yay. But anyways, thank you so much again. We love you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.